Dune is a famous science fiction novel written by Frank Herbert and first published in 1965. It is one of the most important and influential science fiction stories ever written. The novel is set thousands of years in the future, in a vast empire that spreads across many planets. It tells the story of a young nobleman named Paul Atreides, whose family becomes involved in a deadly power struggle over the desert planet Arrakis, the only place in the universe where a precious substance called spice melange can be found. The novel combines adventure, politics, religion, and ecology into one powerful story about destiny, power, and survival. What begins as a young man's journey for revenge and justice becomes the rise of a powerful leader who changes the fate of the entire universe. In the distant future, humans no longer live only on Earth. They have built a vast galactic empire ruled by an emperor and supported by noble families known as great houses. These families control different planets and constantly compete for power, wealth, and influence. However, one planet is more valuable than all the others: Arrakis, also called Dune. Arrakis is a desert world with no rain, little water, and endless sand dunes. It is home to enormous sandworms that live under the sands. Despite its harsh environment, Arrakis is the only place where the spice melange is found. The spice is the most valuable substance in the universe. It gives people longer life, enhances their minds, and allows the Spacing Guild to guide ships safely through space. Because the spice is essential for space travel, whoever controls Arrakis controls the most important resource in the universe, and therefore holds incredible power. The story begins with House Atreides, a noble family led by Duke Leto Atreides. He rules the ocean planet Caladan, where he lives with his beloved Lady Jessica and their son Paul Atreides, who is 15 years old. Duke Leto is known as a fair and honorable ruler, and his people love him. But his growing popularity has made the Emperor jealous and suspicious. The Emperor secretly plans to destroy House Atreides. To do this, he gives Duke Leto a dangerous new assignment. He must leave Caladan and take control of Arrakis. The Emperor pretends this is an honor, but in truth, it is a trap. The previous rulers of Arrakis, the cruel House Harkonnen, are furious about losing control of the planet. The Emperor secretly joins forces with Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, the evil and greedy leader of the Harkonnens, to destroy the Atreides once they arrive on Arrakis. Even though Duke Leto suspects danger, he accepts the Emperor's order. He believes he can survive by forming an alliance with the Freemen, the strong and mysterious native people of Arrakis. If he can earn their trust, he might be able to defend his family against his enemies. The Atreides family and their loyal soldiers move to Arrakis and take control of the capital city, Arrakeen. Life there is completely different from the green and watery world of Caladan. The heat is deadly, and water is so scarce that the people wear special still suits that collect and recycle body moisture. The Fremen live deep in the desert, in hidden communities called sieches. They are tough, disciplined, and deeply religious people who dream of turning their desert world into a paradise full of water and life. They are also skilled fighters, and Duke Leto hopes they will become his allies. Meanwhile, Paul begins to have strange dreams and visions about Arrakis and a mysterious girl. He has been trained in many ways, in politics, combat, and leadership, by his father's loyal men, Gurney Halleck, Thufir Hawat, and Duncan Idaho. His mother, Lady Jessica, also trains him in the secret ways of the Bene Gesserit, a powerful sisterhood that uses mental and physical training to control their minds and bodies. Lady Jessica belongs to the Bene Gesserit, who have been running a secret breeding program for centuries to create a superhuman known as the Kwisatz Haderach. a man who can see the past, present, and future. The Bene Gesserit ordered Jessica to bear a daughter, but out of love for Duke Leto, she disobeyed and gave him a son, Paul. Because of this, Paul might be the prophesied Kwisatz Haderach. He already shows signs of being special. He can sense danger before it happens and has an awareness beyond normal humans. The Bene Gesserit fear and respect what he could become. Although Duke Leto tries to strengthen his rule on Arrakis, the trap soon closes around him. The Emperor secretly sends his own elite soldiers, the Sardaukar, disguised as Harkonnen troops, to attack the Atreides. The betrayal comes from an unexpected source: Dr. Yue, the family's trusted doctor. The Harkonnens have captured Yue's wife and promise to return her if he helps them. Dr. Yue disables the shields protecting the Atreides' stronghold, allowing the enemy to invade. But he also feels deep guilt and tries to help in a small way. Before delivering Duke Leto to the Baron, he gives him a tooth filled with poison gas and tells him to use it to kill the Baron. Yue also helps Jessica and Paul escape into the desert with some supplies. The attack is brutal. The Atreides' forces are destroyed, and Duke Leto is captured. When he tries to use the poison to kill the Baron, he fails and dies. The Baron Harkonnen rejoices, believing he has won. Meanwhile, Jessica and Paul flee into the desert, hunted by Harkonnen troops. Jessica and Paul face deadly sandstorms, heat, and giant sandworms as they try to survive in the open desert. Paul begins to change. The spice in the air and food heightens his senses, and his visions of the future grow stronger. He starts to understand his destiny and the role he is meant to play. Eventually, they are found by a band of freemen led by Stilgar. The freemen recognize something special in Paul and his mother. Jessica proves her strength by defeating one of them in combat, and they are both accepted into the tribe. Jessica and Paul move into a Freeman Sayach community. Jessica becomes their reverend mother, a kind of spiritual leader, by drinking the water of life, a deadly poison that she transforms using her Bene Gesserit abilities. This act also gives her unborn daughter, Aaliyah, all of Jessica's memories and wisdom even before birth. Paul takes the Fremen name Muad'Dib and quickly becomes a respected leader. He trains with them, learns their desert ways, and helps organize their tribes into a powerful fighting force. The Fremen believe Paul is the Messiah promised by prophecy, a man who will lead them to freedom and transform their planet. Paul also falls in love with a Fremen woman named Chani, who is the daughter of Liet Kynes, the imperial ecologist who once helped Duke Leto. Together, Paul and Chani become partners and have a deep bond. As Paul grows stronger, his visions become clearer. He sees that if he takes his father's revenge and claims the throne, it will trigger a terrible holy war across the universe. He fears this future, but knows he might not be able to stop it. Over the next few years, Paul unites the Fremen tribes and becomes their spiritual and military leader. He teaches them how to fight more effectively and leads them in attacks against the Harkonnen spice factories. Slowly, they take control of the desert and the spice supply. Baron Harkonnen rules Arrakis through his cruel nephew Rabban, who mistreats the people and makes them hate the Harkonnens even more. The Baron plans to replace him later with his smarter nephew, Feyd-Rautha. But by then, Paul's influence is too strong. When Paul drinks the water of life himself, something that should kill a man, he survives and awakens with full power. He becomes truly the Kwisatz Haderach, able to see all possible futures. He understands that he must act quickly before his enemies can destroy him, and before the bloody future he fears becomes inevitable. When word of the rebellion reaches the Emperor, he travels to Arrakis with his army to crush it. He brings his Sardaukar soldiers and his daughter, Princess Irulan. But when he arrives, Paul and the Freemen launch their final attack. Riding on giant sandworms, the Freemen storm the Emperor's fortress in a powerful and unstoppable assault. The Emperor's soldiers are defeated. Paul takes control of Arrakis and confronts both the Emperor and Baron Harkonnen's heir, Feyd-Rautha. Paul challenges Feyd to a duel and kills him, ending the Harkonnen line. Then he demands that the Emperor surrender. Paul threatens to destroy all the spice, the most valuable thing in the universe, if the Emperor refuses. Knowing that the entire empire depends on the spice, the Emperor has no choice but to give in. Paul becomes the new ruler of Arrakis and the new Emperor of the universe. To secure his political power, he agrees to marry Princess Irulan, even though his true love remains Chani. Paul has achieved everything he once dreamed of. He has avenged his father's death, defeated his enemies, and become emperor. The Fremen worship him as their Messiah, and he now controls the most powerful resource in existence. But Paul is not happy. He knows that his rise will inspire a holy war carried out by his followers in his name, spreading across the galaxy and killing billions. Although he has won, he understands that power always comes with a price. Lady Jessica, watching her son's rise, reflects that history will remember Paul as a godlike emperor and prophet. But those who truly knew him will remember the human being behind the legend. The story ends with a mixture of triumph and sadness, showing that even victory can bring great loss. Dune is not just the story of one man's rise to power. It is a story about destiny, politics, and humanity's relationship with nature. Paul Atreides' journey from a young noble to a galactic emperor shows how power, faith, and ambition can change both individuals and entire civilizations. The novel ends on a thoughtful note, with the idea that even when people achieve greatness, they can never escape the consequences of their choices.